Guess what time it is?
It's time for small potatoes.
Where we give you a naughty tease of our latest Patreon episode.
Be sure to subscribe. Links are in the description. Mhm.
To sit and wallow in the shoulda, coulda, woulda, or the what if. It's fanciful and it can be something you think back on fondly. But the fact that men throughout their entire life, they could be on their deathbed in their golden years that are still shoulda, coulda, woulda about that girl from college or the girl who lived across the street, the girl next door, and I never went after it, or I never did ask her out, or I never I fucked up in that relationship and I lost her, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that is an impossible thought. It's an impossible thing to fix. And yet they stay in that all their life to the point
Mhm.
of heartache. You can hear someone confess on their deathbed with tears in their eyes, almost glorifying that person. And it's like, wow, you spent your whole life wondering what coulda, shoulda. To me, that is just purgatory in my mind because it's painful to be in a place that seems never ending. There's no solution, there's no closure, there's no answer, and
Mhm.
you're just reaching for this why, this wonder, this thing that just can't, it's not a problem that can be solved. And to me, that's just wasted thought. That's why I don't believe in regret. And yet, especially in sex work, especially when I was a worker, I'd say even more so than as an owner, even though we hear people's stories, you get into such passionate and intimate conversations with someone when you're naked together in a room just by yourself. Even if
Mhm.
it's post orgasmic pillow talk, men confess a lot. And to
Mhm.
hear that, whether it's out of a guy who's 32 or a guy who's 57 or a guy who's 96, like, it's kind of it's jarring a little bit. It's shocking to be like, you too, you also sit with this thing, and at any big old age, you're just for the end of days just gonna just daydream and wonder about this woman. It's painful to me. And
Mhm.
yet, what a beautiful sentiment of love. I can't knock it. It's not
Mhm.
bad. It's not evil. I hope it's not taking away from his real life joy. I hope it doesn't take away the significance of his partner or a few wives that he had or like whatever he's done with his life. I hope he didn't stay stuck and alone because of that. But even that happens. And it's just like, to me, it's just so achy, breaky heart. It's,
Mhm.
for
Well, I
someone who
mean,
loves love so much, I struggle with it.
yeah. And I mean, depending on the generation, this may not have been possible, a decade ago. But I think now with social media, find the person, be
Yeah.
vulnerable, risk everything, and be like, I haven't stopped thinking about you for the last 16 years. And even if
Yes.
you put it out and it's not well received, you need to do that. Because I think we were talking about this earlier that I think women mature quicker. So I think there's
Yes.
often so many cases where the woman is giving kind of the wife energy and has those relationship goals, and the man is just not there yet. He's just not ready. So it doesn't work out for a variety of different reasons. That once he is there, I think they often look back and in hindsight think, she was the perfect woman. She gave everything to me. She wanted this future, and I wasn't ready yet. And therein lies the regret, right? That if I
Yeah.
could only have
Hmm.
had this mindset then, it would have been a different life.
It would have, but it wasn't meant to. And like, I wish I could just shake that into people sometimes. I know you can't, but it would save them so much of that thought pain of like just the cycle. It's like negative self-talk, right? Like it's
Mhm.
sometimes it's all repeat and you can't even control it or stop it. And it just cycles through your mind. And for some people, it might be only when they have a conflict with their partner or only in the certain kind of private moment, driving down the highway and thinking. But for some people, it's a constant present, like forefront thought of mind.
Mhm.
And that's a long life to live. That's a long road. And I fully agree with you. Take your shot. I
Yeah.
remember, like, keep in mind when I worked in the industry, it was from 1999 until 2009. And so it was a different era of social media, and all we had back then was Facebook. And I remember an older gentleman, he's well into his 80s, that was telling me this story about a girl from college that he always had a crush on, never asked on a date, but had known like throughout most of his life and just knew she was the one, and described 1,000 reasons why she was the one, even
Mhm.
though clearly they didn't end up together. And I told him about Facebook and I was like, you should look her up. And he was like, I've tried in the yellow pages. I don't even know if she lives in the town anymore, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. And I was like, no, 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 this is online. Like I had to tell him what it was. And back then, Facebook was pretty much for university students and people that were trying to find their university friends or old
Yeah.
high school friends. It was, you know, Poke and Vampire Wars and all those things of old school Facebook. And I
Right.
had to explain it to him. I had to show it to him. And I hope he went home and made an account because I never saw him again. But he started to cry when I told him that this was a possibility, that he could type her name in a search bar and she might pop up. And not
Mhm.
only would you be able to see photos of her, and I mean, the privacy settings were different back then. Everyone had an open profile, right? But you'd be able to maybe speak to her and you could message her directly and have a conversation. And he was overwhelmed with the
I bet.
concept that this was now even in a realm of tangible for him.
Mhm.
And I remember him distinctly, silver haired, laying down with the tears just rolling out his face as he lay face up on the massage table as we spoke. And I held his hand and we just had like a very intimate conversation about it and offered my help. And I was like, I can help you if you want, blah, blah, I could show you. And I remember going to front desk and showing him Facebook and like in the little search thing, this
Yeah.
is what you type and whatever, whatever. And gosh, I really hope he did. I hope he found her and at least they had a conversation, because who doesn't love a sweet conversation, you know, with someone who's like,
Yeah.
I was so in love with you back then.
Mhm.
And even if you're happily now, I'd be like, that's beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
telling me that. One of my favorite things about Facebook was finding out that almost every guy I knew in high school was like, you were my high school crush. And I was like,
Right.
yo, I had it.
Right.
So maybe she'll feel special. Like it
Yeah.
may not be a future thing, but it doesn't need to be. Just let her know. And then he can have some peace of mind and closure that like she exists, she's happy, all's well that ends well.
Hmm. I agree. Well, I'm going to take a moment to toot my own horn because I want to tell the story. I really feel like I'm the one that got away in so many men's lives. And not